Hey guys, plethora here. Hope you guys are doing great. When it comes to monitors, there are plethora of options to choose from. You can go by various categories to fit your perfect needs. And when I say that, you have categories like based on the display size, it can range from the smaller size that you want all the way up to the biggest size you can have, like BFGDs. And then you can go based on the ratio. We have 16:9, we have 21:9, then add a little bit of dash of curve to it. You can get 16:9 in curved and 21:9 in curved as well. And then there are other extra features that comes under names like gaming monitors, which has higher refresh rate, and then we have creator monitors that has better color accuracy, and then we have monitors for mass consumers that would just fit their everyday use case scenario. Now there is one particular monitor category that you may not have heard of, but if you have, then chances are you might be in a pretty huge company and you may have been to the conference room quite often to a point that you guys make a group call on this one. Conference monitors are very niche and they exist in offices and pretty much every single meeting room. And Dell made a 34-inch conference monitor for your desk. So that means this particular monitor has more ports than a thin and light laptop. It also gets a 5 megapixel front facing camera with Windows Hello support. That means you can keep your PC or your laptop secure. Number 3, it also comes with a speaker and it's a curved 2K panel monitor. In the sea of monitor that exists, why does this one even exist? Which is what I'm going to talk about in this particular review. So let's not waste any time and get right into it. And you're watching The Adventures of Vesper. Let's begin. Okay, when Dell reached out with this particular monitor, I was a little bit surprised and I paused for a really good second and went like, this particular monitor is focused or targeted towards a very specific user base. And because these kind of monitors never exist outside of an office usually. And when you hear the word a conference monitor or a conference TV, they exist in meeting rooms and so on. But given the fact that we are in a pandemic right now and we are stuck at home and we have this really huge need for a camera, microphone, speaker, and a really good bigger display, adding all that up and getting one particular product does look pretty convincing to me. Now I'm going to leave my final verdict later down in this video, but now let's just take a closer look at one thing at a time. And I'm going to start off with the design and the build quality. The design is really nice and it definitely falls into Dell's design language. Dell likes to keep their things simple and elegant, and that's what exactly that they did here. And if you have seen their ultra sharp monitors, you can literally see that same design cue and hints all over the monitor. This particular monitor that we have here is a curved monitor, and the curve isn't too intense. I personally am not a fan of a curved monitor, but the fact that this curve isn't too distracting or it doesn't make whatever I see or edit on too bad, that's fine by me. And the display alone weighs a good amount of weight, and you might wonder, so if the display is pretty heavy, then chances are you need a really good base, right? And Dell got that covered really well. What do you get is definitely a really nice solid block of metal stand that does a lot of movement. So you can do the tilt, swivel, and push it up and down and slide it up and down. This is a really good set of versatility that you can find in a monitor, and it's good to have because when you place it on certain surfaces, you would really want to adjust it so that it's straight and it's nice to view on. And that particular stand versatility is something that I'm definitely going to give a thumbs up for this monitor. Now moving on to the display, what do we have here is a 2K, which is a Quad HD panel rated at 60 Hz display. And yes, as I mentioned earlier, this is curved and it's an IPS panel. Once again, Dell is known for their really good panels on their monitor, and if you have seen a designer use their ultra sharp monitor, you can literally see them go raving about it because they have the best color accuracy, and they are one of the best in the whole industry of creators. Dell definitely didn't disappoint there, because as a content creator myself, I did use this monitor to edit most of my pictures on Lightroom, and I also did some video projects on Premiere Pro. The perks of having a 21:9 aspect ratio display though is really nice, because you get this wider real estate. So that means you can have a really long timeline, you can have a lot of things going on your screen, and you can have a really good editing experience on a monitor like this. Not to forget the fact that going for a 34-inch and making the panel 2K was a really smart move, because if it was full HD, trust me, you will see a lot of pixels. This one, on the other hand, is not bad, and it definitely looks good if you sit close to it. And say if you try to consume content in 21:9 aspect ratio, chances are you're definitely going to enjoy it, because it cuts off all the black bezels and it gets pretty immersive. Color is really great. There are no complaints on that. The display quality is good, and you also get blue light filter for you to tone it down, especially when the sun sets. So now the display is out of the way, we're going to look into the I/O and the connectivity on this monitor, because this particular monitor packs a lot more port than my very own laptop. And for this, I need my phones, and I'm going to tell you what are the ports under the hood. So what we have here is a really good set of ports, and you do have some quick accessible port right below the speaker, and there are other ports that's placed alongside with the display inputs. So along with the display inputs, we get one HDMI port, one display port that supports 1.2 and 1.4. You get a USB Type-C port that's also a display port, and it also supports 90-watt power delivery, which is great, by the way, because one of the laptops that I use, which is the Asus ExpertBook B9, supports Thunderbolt, and it uses USB Type-C to charge. And that way, when I hook it up, it charges my laptop, and also at the very same time, I get a really good display output. So that means that's a lot less clutter of cables going on. And you do get extra two USB 3.0 on the back, so you can use them to connect your mouse and your keyboard. And on the front, you do have some quick accessible USB, which is a USB 3.0. You get a USB Type-C port and a headphone jack as well. So that means if you're planning to use your headphone and you want to reach to your port immediately, you can actually use the port on the front. Now, in order to make the camera, the microphone, and all these ports work, you would really need to connect a USB Type-B cable to your PC and your laptop, which obviously comes with the box itself. As for the rest, you do get a HDMI cable, you get a DisplayPort cable, and you get a USB Type-C cable in the box included as well. Oh, and not to forget, say if your laptop doesn't have an RJ45 port, the monitor also has one. So which means you can really route your RJ45 cable into the monitor and still get an internet connection to your laptop. Now you see what I mean, because this particular monitor is meant for offices, because offices in general have all of these connected in one particular system, and you can actually hook up your laptop and get things going on. So it makes sense to have all of this port baked into a monitor, and this monitor stays in the office, and all you need to take is your laptop away, you come back to your office, connect it with one cable, and everything goes online. So it's a really clean or very well designed monitor, so much so to the point that, right, if you were to get this monitor for home and you have all your parts like really accessible, like your RJ45, whatever, like it's accessible in one corner, you can take all of those cables connected to this particular monitor, and you can actually have a really clean desk setup. That is quite a turn on for me, because I love clean desk setups with very minimal wires going around, and this monitor won my heart for that. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the third thing, which is the feature set this particular monitor carries. So that's going to be the Windows Hello, the camera, the microphone, the speaker, because obviously this is a conference monitor and I need to talk about these. Let's just start off with the speaker, shall we? Okay, the speaker is positioned below the bezel, so you see this cloth-like texture all the way at the bottom, and it also carries some touch buttons on the very left side. Now these touch buttons include your mic mute button, then you have your volume control, and it also has a Microsoft Teams button. Because this monitor is certified for Microsoft Teams, and when I say that, you can actually use a quick launch to launch Microsoft Teams just through the monitor, and you can get your call up and running. That is, if you and the company that you work in use Microsoft Teams as your primary source of video conference. Now, if you don't, then chances are that button is useless, and you can still use the other button, just that Microsoft Team button is still going to stick out like sore thumb, and you might wonder, why aren't we using Microsoft Teams? Just because of that. Because a fun fact is that my uni uses Google Meets, so that button is not really useful. But when I do get some work done, say for instance, if I'm attending a virtual online event, there are some clients that use Microsoft Teams, and that's the only time I get to see that button going green, and I get to be a little excited about it. The speaker is a 5-watt speaker, so don't expect the speaker to have like really thumping bass or really good treble and so on, because this speaker is good enough to allow you to hear what the person has to say from the other end. And if you were to play some music, sure, it does get loud, but it's definitely not a pleasant experience. Again, it's a conference monitor, so you don't really need that bombastic speaker fitted into such monitor. The camera, on the other hand, is interesting because it sits along the top part of the monitor. So you just have to press, it pops up, you get a notification that the monitor has unlocked or turned on the camera and microphone. So you do get a privacy feature, which is sweet, because certain monitors or certain products tend to have the camera sticking out like a sore thumb, and you cannot close it, or sometimes you would just have to put a cover on top of it just to hide that nobody bypasses through. This one, you can literally push it down and lock it so that nobody can see what's going on. And once you're done with your meeting, and if you want to go back to your meeting, you just press back, it opens up, it turns on the camera and the microphone, and you can use it right away. Now the camera and the microphone, well, we did a test video, so you can actually watch that right now. So this is the webcam and the audio sample from the Dell 34-inch conference monitor. Right now you can see in the frame, if I don't move so much, the exposure is quite good. In fact, you can see a lot of the details behind me on my shelf, the camera, the pulsating light from my mouse, the monitor on the other side, which retains the image really well. But if I were to move a bit, right, what happens is that the exposure suddenly kicks off and it becomes way too bright, and it gets pretty ugly, yeah, you can see right now there is the sudden exposure going on, and then it takes a while to go back. Let's just give it a second for it to adapt, I suppose. Let me just show the side of the face of the side. Okay, there we go. So it does take a bit of time for it to go back to normal and get in nice exposure of sorts. The audio, on the other hand, I'll leave it up to you. For me, I feel like there's slight echo to it, although it does say it cancels echo out. I'm not too sure it captures like more space in the audio. That's how it sounds like, at least to me. But I want your comments on the audio, which is the microphone that's capturing my voice right now. Leave it down in the comment section below. Now let's head back to the review of this 34-inch Dell conference monitor. So that's the test video, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below once again, so that we will know how do you feel about the microphone on this particular monitor. So we are at the end of this video, and here's my verdict on this monitor. The Dell 34-inch curved conference monitor is a very niche one. And given the fact that it's the pandemic and we are spending more time at home, and also at the same time we are spending more time answering call at home through all of these video conferencing applications, this monitor makes complete sense. And it makes really good sense at that. Because As compared to a generic monitor that has like underwhelming speakers, this one has dual 5-watt speakers that gives you a crisp and clear listening experience of what the other person has to say. You get a webcam that's baked right into it, and it does a fairly good job for you to look good in a camera, and it also does a really good job in hiding and offering privacy security options. And when it comes to security, Windows Hello is a nice thing to have, and I love IR based unlocking systems. Finally, the I/O on this particular monitor is a good set of I/O, so you don't have to reach for an extra dongle of sorts. And if you're using a laptop, you're gonna have a good time with this monitor. But unfortunately, if you were to hear this price, you're definitely gonna get turned off, because this monitor is priced at 4,099 ringgit. That is after the discount Dell has applied on the SRP, which is 8,179 ringgit. For 8,179 ringgit, and if I had the spending power to buy this monitor, that's still a lot of money for me to consider. Given the fact that, sure, it does hit a lot of spots. It does hit the issues with speaker, like a microphone, camera, I/O, and a good display. But spending 8,179 is an amount of money that not everybody can spend in the current situation. Let alone priced at 4,099 ringgit, that's still a steep price to pay. But if you were to look into the market and say, if you come across a really good 32-inch curved 2K panel, which is gonna cost about somewhere around 2.5 to 2.7, and you can get a good speaker for 300, a good microphone for 300, and a good camera for 300, it's gonna roughly cost close to 4,000 ringgit, which makes sense buying this monitor, getting everything in one particular package. But if you were to ask me to spend 8,000 ringgit on this monitor, I really wouldn't. So that's all I have to say. If you have the spending power, sure, go for it. But I would say do a list of your own. See what monitor do you need, what speaker do you need, what headphones do you need, what microphones do you need, what camera do you need, and tally it. If that one is much more affordable, go for that. You don't want to waste your money on this. And if you're working from an office, and if your company can afford to buy this monitor, then sure, ask your company to buy this monitor, because I think this is a good asset for a company, but not so much of a great asset when it comes to people who want a good setup at home. So yeah, that's basically it. Thank you so much for watching. Huge thanks to Dell for sending this monitor, for making this review happen. They did not get any copy approval, so which means every single thing that I've said in this video and I've wrote in my review is being seen for the very first time as you guys are seeing it. That's all I have. Thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't watched our recent live stream that we did on a game, Operation Tango, check it out. It's a pretty fun game. Alright then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, this is Prithviraj signing off. Take care, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.